and welcome back to MOE Conversations, where we are discussing e-learning in the pandemic. We just had a chat with some parents, and now we have 3 students who are going to join us to discuss their experience with e-learning in the pandemic. I want to allow them to introduce themselves. So starting on my left, we have...
I'm Jacob Santo. I attend 6th Form Government Polytechnic, and I'm now in upper 6, but I participated in the 2020 CAPE exams underneath the pandemic pressures.
All right, so we have Jacob with us. Next we have...
Hi, my name is Anisha Carter. I am 11 years old, and I am awaiting the SE result.
All right, and what school did you go to, Anisha?
Fairville Government Primary.
Fairville Government Primary. And then we have Macasey.
Yeah, I am Macasey Budram. I just completed writing for my LLB with the UE MONA. And I'm now currently doing, well, I just finished my orientation week with UNing Law School.
All right, so we have primary, we have secondary, and we have tertiary level. So let me start with Anisha. Anisha, school would have closed just 2 weeks before you were due to do your SE examination. How was that for you?
It was kind of challenging, but I continued to do past papers, revising, and online classes via Zoom, Google Classroom, WhatsApp with my teacher.
Oh, so your teacher was still involved, still helping, still giving you all work?
Yeah.
So you would have been working all during the time where maybe some others would have just been getting adjusted. You would have been on Zoom, doing all of that in the months of March, April, May. Yeah? How did it feel at first to get accustomed to that type of learning?
It was kind of challenging because some of the stuff I didn't really understand it over the classroom. So I had to call my teacher personally to get help.
Okay, and your teacher was accommodating. She was happy to explain?
Yeah.
And was it better when she was able to explain that to you?
Yeah.
How did your parents get involved in that whole process?
My mom always made sure that I understand. She would help me with my homework and stuff when I had homework. She also made sure that I did my homework to send it to my teacher.
Okay, so mommy wasn't playing.
No.
Mommy was making sure that homework was done, sent to Miss, and if you had problems and you didn't understand over the online environment, you can call Miss and Miss would explain. So how did you feel about actually getting to do your SEA? Were you worried that you wouldn't get to do it this year?
Yes, I was worried because of all the stuff that happened. I was excited when they came to a date where you could have get it finished because I was ready to get over it.
I can imagine. So you're happy to have written your SEA. And are you looking forward to your results next week?
Yes.
Yeah. And what have you been doing since that time?
I have been helping my mom around the house. I joined a online dance class with Auntie Affy's Academy for Dance.
Okay. An online dance class.
It involves folk dance and ballet. I also like to bake, so I practice baking cinnamon rolls, sausage rolls, pies, cakes.
Where Anisha living? Boy, I have to maybe pass by to see if you know you're doing well on that cinnamon rolls. Sounds like lots of stuff happening. So you are occupying yourself, doing the things you like to do, your hobbies. You're doing an online class, you're helping mommy around the house, and you're looking forward to your results next week. All right. How you feeling about starting school online?
I am excited to begin this new journey with my school, but it is unfortunate that I cannot see my new teacher and classmates in person.
Okay, so you're looking forward to going back face to face at some point, yes? All right. So we've heard from Anisha, her particular challenges, and Jacob, let's have a chat with you. So you also would have been in an exam time because you were in lower 6 doing CAPE Unit 1, heading into upper 6 at that time. So how was it for you feeling that, you know, you're out of school and now you have to be doing work online? How quick was that transition for you? Were you doing work during the time before this term?
Oh, of course, and I really owe a debt to my teachers who, even before the pandemic and the lockdown and the switch to home-based learning, they had already begun to integrate parts of online learning like the Google Classroom and keeping in contact through WhatsApp. And there was already that base and that groundwork where we could work from, but it was still, you know, a sudden shock to be one moment, you know, waking up early for school every day, and then the next, you're at home.
Yeah. So you all had already integrated aspects of technology into the learning experience. And so when it was time to go fully online, it wasn't that much of a shift. It was just more.
Yes. In fact, even before that, we had begun doing classes online and stuff.
Okay.
But really, honestly, one of the hard parts was missing the face-to-face interaction, the sense of community one has from going to school, seeing one's friends every day. And that was really difficult for me because I found myself missing these small parts of a school experience, you know.
Okay. And Mackenzie, you would have been in a tertiary environment in this same situation. How was the switch for you?
Well, like Jacob said earlier, I guess kind of prepares you for university level. So it was not a big jump for us to go to the full online classes. The major hindrances for us would have been like teachers or elderly teachers who now have to learn this new technology because they were so accustomed coming to class and giving notes or saying, okay, look up this, look up that. And now here they have to go on Zoom and use the blackboard there, and it's a bit of difficulty. So that was the only major challenge. But seeing as we are accustomed already reading for a degree on our own, it wasn't that much of a switch for us or a jump for us.
Okay, so I guess the higher up one goes in the education sector with respect to the levels, that technology was already being used there, so it was an easier transition. Let me ask this. For each of you at your different levels, and Anisha could answer first, even though you're learning in a face-to-face environment, you're learning in a virtual environment, do you think that there's any replacement? Do you think the online can replace that social aspect? And Jacob, you would have alluded to it. Can it replace that social aspect? Anisha is talking about, you know, not being able to see her friends and so on. Do you think you would like to continue learning in a virtual environment for your entire school life? Anisha, what do you think?
No, because it's not as
you like seeing your friends.
Yeah.
You want to see your friends.
Yeah, and I also like seeing my teacher.
All right. And Jacob?
Well, personally, you know, I would prefer a face-to-face environment, but I could see the utility where some students prefer doing things on their own time, you know, from the comfort of their home. And I think it's a case of the shoe has to fit the foot, you know. And I think the future will be that students will have to make their own decisions with how they want to learn.
And what do you think, Mackenzie?
For me, it's convenient. Convenience because just last week I was able to be part of a class while stuck in traffic on the highway. So it's convenient to that extent, but at the same point in time, the social aspect is missing greatly at the tertiary level, where before you take that interaction or sit around in class to look at who would be the right person to pick for a group project. But now, essentially, you just have to look at a name and John Smith is your partner, and you have no idea what John Smith's work ethic is in class, or do they answer questions, or do they seem to be bright per se. So you don't want to, so you're basically being blind.
Kind of blind.
Yeah.
Right.
So that social aspect is missing because it's something that I guess most tertiary students use a lot to judge for things like that. So it has its pluses and its negatives as well.
Okay. So you three seem to have adjusted pretty well, but I know that you would be in class with people who may not have adjusted quite so easily. What are some of the challenges that as students you can identify with the online platform, maybe for yourself or that you would have seen coming up with your classmates? What are some of the main challenges you mentioned for one of the teachers in terms of the, you know, the learning curve that they have to now engage in? What are some of the things that are the main issues for you, Anisha?
some students might not be able to do the work and might be more behind, and you might have to be in a group with them. They might not be able to do what they're supposed to, and so sometimes you might not be able to explain something properly to them, so they will not understand.
So if you have this, so there are some students then naturally who would take to the environment more, who would learn better, and who would be able to proceed, and really progress better. So you get some students having that difficulty. What do you think, Jacob? What are some of the challenges that students face in this online environment?
Well, while I was blessed to have, parents and teachers who were there for me to make sure I had the inspiration to go on all the way through, even though there were students who were left out, who didn't have access to the online classes due to economic circumstances, some students were simply just demoralized by the situation. And even I felt that at times, the pressure and the stress that comes from change of an environment and just waiting to do an exam, and that is, I think, an understated element of all this, the psychological aspect and the effect it has on parents, students, everyone.
Okay. So there are students who really are feeling the mental pressure of not being in their usual environment, their usual space, and I think sometimes students, there are coping mechanisms, because sometimes when students are together, and I think this is what Anisha might have been alluding to as well, they kind of depend on other students to help you sometimes. So there's a particular class, and you might have a friend who is not so hot in this subject, but you might be the one that can help them along and give them, and that's, not really done in the same way in this environment. And so the mental pressure, as you say, could be a lot for some students. Mackenzie, what are your thoughts on this? Challenges.
Challenges, just like with the lecturers who may not understand the technology or who are now getting familiar with technology. We have students at the tertiary level who are not in their 20s, who are in their 40s or older.
Okay. And
they too have those same challenges. But then you have also the bulk of students being the younger set who kind of help them to be seamless with it, but at the same point in time, there's always that disconnect between the age groups. So them trying to explain to a 20-year-old how to put on the mic or how to change my name, they may say it in a million words and leave you scratching your head. And then when it's being explained on the other side, it's always like, what 3 dots to find? Where do I have to push? So there's that bit of a disconnect with the students themselves, because some don't even understand the technology. Other than that, I would say one of the major challenges as a tertiary student is you really need the library sometimes. And now that we can't go onto the campus to get into the library to look at the actual physical copy of the book in your hand, that's a bit difficult, because for some students, the online version is just it just doesn't work. They just don't feel like they're actually learning off it. So that's one of our biggest challenges at the tertiary level.
So there's the technology challenge, and there's again the issue of learning together and growing together and helping those who need the help, whether it's a teacher or whether it's a fellow student. And all of that comes into that whole issue of feeling demoralized, because sometimes just if you can't surmount the technology, far less the work, So it's as though, this is where we are, and you want to do something, and it's so difficult to even start it. So I suppose all of those things would be impacting on how students are able to progress and to perform and to feel as though they're learning in this space. I know there's somebody who tells me that I don't feel I'm learning anything. I like to see a teacher in front of me, and I like to interact with my classmates and ask them questions. And sometimes when we're in class and we're doing group things and we speak to each other, I feel like I'm learning. I'm not getting that feeling in the online environment. And that's a reality for some people. So I want to give the opportunity to each of you now to think about one tip or a trick or something that you use that assists you in this online environment as you learn in the virtual environment, as you learn from home. What's one thing that you think has worked very well for you and you want to pass that on to some student that is looking at you right now and saying, I wonder what is one thing I can learn from them? So think about it, 2 seconds. And Anisha, let me start with you. What do you think you want to tell someone, a tip or a trick for some student that's struggling in the online environment?
Always ask a teacher for help if you don't understand. Once they are willing to help you,
it will be better. So always ask for help. Ask your teacher for help. Jacob, what's one tip you can give?
Don't give up. And it sounds simple and cliche, but you know, in these hard times, it's easy to let a bad mentality take over, and you just get trapped in a cycle of inaction. And one tip I would tell people is find new ways to be active. Try and learn on your own. Even if the teacher is there, try and adapt at your own pace.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Don't give up. Adapt at your own pace. Always ask a teacher for help. Mackenzie, what can you add to that tip?
Don't make the bedroom your classroom. Literally get out the bed and go to a table. Go somewhere other than your bed. Even though now you don't have to put on your camera for the teacher to see you.
Yeah.
Don't make the bedroom your classroom. Leave, go to a table somewhere outside, and let that be your classroom. Because honestly, if you sit there in that bed, 9 out of 10 times you're going to fall asleep and you're going to miss the entire lesson.
Okay, that's a very practical one. Don't make your bed your classroom. Find a dedicated space and step away from the bed. Yes? Right? Don't give up. Adapt at your own pace, but don't give up. Don't get trapped into a cycle of inactivity. And always ask your teacher for help. If there's something that you can't understand, don't feel ashamed to reach out and ask for help. I think those are excellent tips that you have proffered to the students who are looking on, because this is a challenge. We are all going through it together, and anyone that can help, each one reach one, everyone help one, and I think we can all go forward with much more purpose and understanding, even though the times are very, very challenging. Jacob, Anisha, and Mackenzie, I want to thank you for being here, offering your experience, offering your advice and your tips, and I want to wish you all success. You have into Upper 6, Anisha, you have your results coming up. I wish you all God's blessings for your SCA results. And Mackenzie, all the best as you continue doing what you have to do, even in these challenging times. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for having us.